Well, hello everyone. It's Sibyl Star, and I am here to talk about the Gemini New Moon that is coming up on May 30th at 10 degrees of Gemini. There's something really interesting happening at this new moon because at 9 to 10 degrees Gemini is a fixed star called Aldebaran. It's a very famous star. It is called one of the royal stars of Persia, and the sun is actually crossing over this star from May 29th to the 31st, but it's actually exact on the new moon, actually just within minutes of being exact. And like I said, it is a royal star Persia. It's associated with Archangel Michael, and it's a guardian star. Aldebaran is what is called a red giant. It is huge, and it sits in the eye of the bull of Taurus. Now, this star brings good fortune and success as long as one is aligned with integrity. All of the royal stars of Persia have gifts, but they also have a shadow aspect. And so this is the one of Aldebaran. It's about living in integrity. It is considered a star of enlightenment, and it allows us to download new and inspired ideas from the universe. It's a gateway, it's a stargate of information, and that's why I'm sitting here in front of what is light language, because there's many ways this information can come in through this stargate that is opening at this new moon. This is also called the Silver Gate Portal. It is believed, and this comes from Egyptian text. It is where souls descend into earth and then ascend back into reincarnation through this is called the Silver Gate Portal, which is located in the star system of Aldebaran. And so it's a really good time for past life regressions or to open your Akashic records, however you do that. And I would say this is happening on a new moon. This energy is really strong until the next new moon. But from the days of the 29th through the 31st, is when it will be the strongest. Now, the opposite pole is called the Golden Gate, and um, and it's also a stargate, and it is located in Antares. And Antares is another red star. And they say that this star is the one through which the gods descend to Earth, and it's where souls leave when they're ready to get off the wheel of reincarnation. And just one more thing, Aldebaran is linked with the original genetic coding that allowed for the experience of free will here on planet Earth. And so to know that we are getting an infusion of free will energy to stand in our own personal sovereignty, because free will was given to us by Creator as a tool for evolution, for our own growth. And it's kind of like a prime directive. No one else in the universe can interfere with our ability to have free will and to make choices. And that's another reason I'm sitting in front of these light codes. I believe they are the light codes of free will choice. Now, on to the new moon in Gemini. It occurs, like I said, on May 30th at 9 degrees 3 minutes, or we would say 10 degrees of Gemini at 4:30 a.m. Pacific time. Gemini is the archetype of the communicator, the student, the teacher, the heretic, the trickster. The heretic aspect of Gemini asks us to question everything. There are no sacred cows. It's just the archetype of the journalist. Just the facts and everything is up for questioning. It's also the archetype of the trickster or the comedian. In older times, the only one in the court who could speak truth to the king without being killed was the fool. And he would usually say it with humor. And so often, difficult things can be said with humor. And, many of our comedians carry this archetype and have a either strong Gemini or Mercury component in their chart. And it also asks us to be able to laugh at our own selves, to not take ourselves so seriously. And will often bring up situations that help us laugh at ourselves. Okay. All right. And so it's ruled by Mercury, and Mercury represents the human mind and the tool through which we perceive our world. It is magic. In the Tarot, Mercury is the magician, and words are magic because words create. And Egyptians considered the words so powerful that they did not write down their vowels, so their language could not be spoken if there was no one there to teach it to you. No one today can speak ancient Egyptian where there's guesses at how it must have sounded, but since we don't have the vowels, we don't know. And just, like I've said on many times too, energy follows thought and thought creates. And so it's really important to be careful of what we're thinking and to be impeccable with your words. Say what you mean what you say. This new moon in Gemini, I feel like it is about a time to reclaim our voices. Now, Mercury, the planet that is the ruler of Gemini, or tightly, strongly associated with it, is retrograde and is in Taurus. Is a Taurus 27 degrees at this new moon. And of course, Mercury retrograde can bring miscommunication, lost documents, computer, phone, or even car issues sometimes. It's really, best not to have your car worked on unless you have to with Mercury retrograde. It's a time to slow down, to edit what you've already done, to finish projects, to not start new projects. And often in a Mercury retrograde, nothing goes as planned. In my life, this has really, every single plan I have made have fallen through. Like I said to a friend of mine, if you want to make the gods laugh, tell them your plans. Well, the gods must be having a really good laugh right now because everything has changed from what I thought I was doing and how things were going to go. Anyway, Mercury will go direct on June 3rd, and there will be more clarity, and all crossed wires should become untangled by them. So be patient. All right. And so with Mercury retrograde, it's asking us, once again, to reflect upon our words and thoughts. Energy follows thought, so be conscious and aware of them. Mercury is transiting through the Pleiades, and so another star system is involved. And so it's another reason for the light language because it comes in many ways, this communication and this information. And so you might get some great downloads and great ideas. Okay. It's in Taurus. And Taurus is very much about common sense, being grounded and practical. How do you land your ideas into creations is all possible during this time. And one reason is because Mercury is in a square to Saturn as well, and so in a in an earth sign and in a square to Saturn is really asking us how to land some of our projects. So some real practical ideas and thinking. A reality check. You may have a reality check, as they say, sometimes things are, when they're in the dream state, everything is perfect, but when it comes down into, this reality, it is a bit different. And we have to really look at it that way because that is the way we're looking at. On one hand, of course, we do want to hold the vision of what is possible, but we are being showed the steps to take and sometimes the steps that we hadn't thought it through, put it that way. Okay. And Saturn is often that, that thing you don't want to do. It's that, oh God, not that. And, gaining clarity and understanding without wishful thinking is Mercury and Saturn together. And just, give my own example of, really focusing a lot of my energy on my astrology business and my different spiritual practices. But coming to the realization, I really need to focus more on my business, on the business aspect, because that's what really makes it a business. And so, it might, Saturn is often a mountain to climb. You will have your own mountain to climb, whatever it is that comes in of the the practical steps you need to take to land whatever it is you are trying to land. And of course, using critical thinking skills to how best address a situation. Saturn and Mercury together is very much about being impeccable with your words, speaking with integrity. Once again, we have integrity coming in as through Aldebaran, and recognizing that words have consequences. So be responsible for what you say. And so think before you speak. That's really kind of think before you speak. Is this what I want to say? Is this the outcome I want? Kind of think it through. I know I also had another situation where I really had to decide on what my ultimate goal was, and so, how to proceed with the conversation, and learning from it that I needed to be more flexible. Okay, so there are all kinds of insights and wisdom comes through using critical thinking skills. Now, Mercury is also in a trine to Pluto all week at this eclipse, and it's going to be there for a while. It's going to be an aspect to Saturn and Pluto for almost 2 weeks as it continues to go retrograde and then stations and then goes direct. And so it's there for quite a while. And Pluto is, it's about seeing through illusions in your life. Things you may have allowed yourself to believe but may not be true. So, it's called the shamanic seeing aspect, and it can open the third eye. And I think I have shared before that, an open third eye is not necessarily being clairvoyant, although it can be. It's about the ability to see through illusion, the illusion in the outer world, the illusions in our own inner worlds, and first, ultimately, that we are not separate. We are not separate from Source. And so it's also a new awareness of your deepest desires and how to fulfill them, and a reminder once again of just how powerful our words are, and especially how we talk to ourselves, because that's where we really impact the most, is when the words we say to ourselves. So the Saturn piece can be very self-critical and kind of beat ourselves up because we didn't know what we didn't know. But the truth is, now that we know it, we can make different choices. But it's Saturn, Pluto is about forgiveness. It's about self-forgiveness. So it's being kind to yourself as the truths come up, but also being able to acknowledge deeper truths. And also, speaking of the power of words, and since this is Gemini and really talking about the power of words, I want you to see the difference between using the words I will or I will not versus I can or I can't. It's a very big difference in how it feels. Saying that I will or I will not really aligns us with free will choice, because we are making a conscious choice and we're saying, this is what I will do. We are aligning our will with divine will. Well, hopefully. I mean, that's the other teaching, is to align with divine will. And as we get clarity, we understand more what is divine will for each of us. But I will versus I can. Well, yes, I can do it, but do I want to do it? That's the question, is do you want to do this? Whatever it is, it's about aligning with free will and aligning with what it is you want, okay? It's very self-empowering, and using your voice to self-empower yourself to speak your truth. Now, there is another incredible aspect that is happening at the same time, and this is very much about self-empowerment. Self-empowerment is the theme, I think, of this new moon cycle. Even though we seem to be in the midst of some very challenging energy, and we are, it is ultimately about self-empowerment and aligning with divine will, because when we are aligned with divine will, we're doing the work of creator in the world. We are doing the work of our higher self, of what we came to do, and what is in the highest good of all is also in our highest good, or we could say it the other way. What is in our highest good is in the highest good of all, because it can't be in the highest good of all if it's not in our own highest good. So they're both there. But anyway, Mars is in Aries. Mars entered Aries on May 24th, and on the new moon, it's in a conjunction with Jupiter, and I'll talk about what that means. They're both in Aries, and Mars is his own sign. Mars rules Aries, or is closely aligned with Aries. Using the term rules is an easy term, but it's kind of an archaic term because it doesn't really rule it, but they're closely associated, very similar. And so, anyway, Mars is the warrior. It's about our direction in life. It's it's life force. It's vitality. But it can be hard to handle, especially when it's in its own sign of Aries. It's like having it's like the flame just got lit. Some people talk about getting lit. I mean, that flame within us, we get lit. That our fire we are on fire with Mars and Aries. And it indicates the ability to be strong-willed, independent, and assertive. And that's what it's really about. It's an exciting and intense energy, a time for bold action. And it's about courage. We may be asked to walk through the fires of our own fears. But of course, Aries is one of the signs, and Mars, that has come in to deal with conflict. Unresolved conflict, is one of the things that can get us out of balance quicker than anything. And so Mars in Aries is about dealing with conflict as well. But it's one of the energies that is the most difficult to handle. Because it's so intense and it's hard to handle it, or difficult to express it in constructive ways. So physical exercise is vitally important through this transit of Mars through Aries, that you work out that energy, and you might want to break a sweat for sure. Okay. And the other thing is our triggers may be on the surface since we're dealing with conflict. And so it's, once again, with Mercury retrograde, it's so important that we think before. This one is we think before we act, not just speak, but think before we act and think before we speak. They're both there. And the shadow is aggression, bullying, or violence. And we've certainly had some violence in our field. And it's conjunct the planet Jupiter, and Jupiter in Aries, and Jupiter expands everything it touches. It makes everything I spoke about in the field even more intense. But what its goal is very much about to instill self-confidence and a belief in yourself, and to take a risk and trust the universe, trust yourself. It's really trust yourself, listen to yourself, trust yourself. It motivates and inspires us to go for what we want in life, and to take charge of our lives. That's what this is really about. Once again, it's self-empowerment. And I feel like with this Stargate of this infusion of free will energy through the original coding for our free will energy coming through to remind us that we are sovereign beings, even though it's so important that we think of the highest good of all. But it's kind of like, as I've always said, to have a conscious we need a conscious me, and we need to be on our life path and our direction and our life direction as much as possible. And so the free will, choice, and alignment with divine will is, I think, what the other piece of this Jupiter and Aries conjunct Mars is about. And free will is a tool for our evolution and the choices that we make, and no one can take this from us. And we are, like I said, getting a huge infusion of it. So this is really about taking charge of our own lives, but the energy is very big and very hard to handle. And so the next piece is kind of like a puzzle fitting together. And so Venus has just entered Taurus on May 28th, and we also have the North Node in Taurus, and it's about grounding. And so it's kind of like this huge amount of energy that we are working in the field to propel us into being all we can be and what we came to do. And we have to ground it into Mother Earth. Sit on Mother Earth, walk barefoot, hug trees to ground any excess energy. Um, it's so important to stay grounded. And like I said, walking barefoot, hugging trees, uh, just simply being out in nature will really help, because Taurus is so much about being centered and grounded in, or Earth, as you might want to say, being centered within yourself. Um, and being like the tree whose roots go deep down while the storm swirls around, and know that the storm is swirling around. But how do you stay centered within yourself while moving forward and aligning with divine will and free will choice? This is also ruled by Venus, and Venus is so much, Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in Taurus. She's in her own sign. And so this is very much about self-love, love of the body. So taking really good care of yourself. All this Aries, all this air and fire is kind of stressful. On one hand, we have all this Gemini, and of course, fortunately, Mercury is in Gemini, so it's really grounded as well. We've got Mercury in Gemini, excuse me, we've got Mercury, Venus, and the North Node in Taurus. So we've got three planets and 3 points in Taurus that are very much about, being grounded and practical. And so that's really good. And Venus in Taurus, like I said, is very much about the body, love of the body, taking care of your body, and pleasure. Having some pleasure. Yes, the world is crazy right now, but that doesn't mean that you can't have pleasure. Lay it out in nature. Have the sun on your face, the wind in your hair, put your feet in the water. It restores our vital energy, our chi, because all of this other energy is depleting. It's fire, and it's really depleting. And so it's really important to do self-care during this time, and of course to find that place of inner peace regardless of the circumstances, being fully present and grounded. And I do want to speak just a couple of minutes to what has happened these last few weeks. With once again, these horrible shootings, and just a little bit of what I see, maybe some of the astrology associated with it. And first off, we have Pluto. We're in the United States is in the midst of a Pluto and Capricorn return in the chart of the United States. And Pluto is the alchemist of the zodiac. He turns pain into wisdom, but we must feel it. And we are certainly in a field of feeling. And we are being shown how so many of our youth are alienated in this society. So many people are alienated, and especially youth. And it is causing some really deep mental illness. And just from my own perspective is, the treatment is just a band-aid. It's unable to get to the core. It just kind of masks what's happening underneath. And so these psychotic breaks are happening. And what's wrong, of course, is that this Pluto return is showing us the deep corruption that lies at the core of our civilization. It's the shadow of our country and ourselves, which is very challenging, and we're being shown it as upfront and close as we can. And it's not just one cause, but it is multi-layered and complex. And it shows us that we are a country, it shows us where, as a country, we are making disempowering choices so that we can make different ones. You know, the politicians aren't helping us, they only politicize the matter and do nothing to fix it. You know, this is really about healing the people and to recognize that this this culture that we are living in, it really is collapsing, but out of the collapse and the chaos, something new will come. But unfortunately, we do have to feel it. And this is really sad and tragic. And Mars is always a catalyst. Mars is like adding cayenne pepper to your soup. And whenever it is activated, or whenever it is used, it activates something. And Mars went into Aries on Tuesday, and it's, you know, was in range of kind of conjunction with Jupiter, and it just kind of exploded. Anyway, the Sabian, I'm not going to just leave you there. The Sabian symbol for this new moon is an interesting one. It is an airplane dives toward the earth as though falling. So it can feel like everything is falling apart, and it certainly does feel like it. But there's also, it says as though, it seems as though this is happening, that things are falling apart. But yet, sometimes for things to fall apart, they have to fall apart so we can put them back together in a different way. And so it's about doing what you need to do to pull yourself out of a possible crash landing. It really is. It may feel like it, but pull yourself back. Know that we are actually headed into a new world, but we need to stay grounded in the present moment, very aware of what is happening and following the energy, and to not get lost in the drama. Not get lost in the drama. Pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. And so, in conclusion, what I want to say is I feel like this new moon is an infusion of free will and personal sovereignty, taking charge of our own lives. It is enterprising and an initiating kind of energy. There is new information coming in that brings in clarity and a need for honesty to use your critical thinking skills to determine what is next, not just react emotionally. This is about using critical thinking skills to see through to the core of what is the issue so that we can make different choices and become self-empowered. Stay grounded within yourself and connected to Mother Earth in the present moment to remain in clarity, and ultimately believe in yourself and go for what you want in life. The energy is here to do that. And to know that there is, like I said, new ideas, new ways of information coming in through this Stargate. And I feel like the lunar eclipse really cleared the field of some old emotional patterns and holding on to stuff we no longer need. So new ways of looking at problems and perceiving the world with new information is coming in so that we can receive it. All right, so that's what I see for this new moon. Wishing everyone a wonderful month. And please watch my newest offering, which is called MoonDay Morning Astrology. And um, uh, it's on every Monday on MoonDay, and it's a little more detailed about not just the big picture, but what's happening during the week and the energies that are coming up. And and if you like this, please subscribe to this channel. And if you're interested in a reading or any other things that I do, which I also teach, please go to my website at sibylstar.com, and all of that information will be in the information box. All right, thank you and have a wonderful week.